At that point, I was like, holy smokes. Extraordinary business value.
Welcome to episode number 7 of AIMUG Builders. And today we have a special episode. We have two fellows from Panama in the AIMUG chapter down there. And they're going to introduce who they are, the mission of AIMUG Builders in Panama, and also a special product of that meeting, which is Ketzai, an AI teacher, planning for folks in Panama, helping them create lessons and study guides for children in the country. So, Juan, very nice to meet you.
James,
Could you,
likewise.
I guess, let's first start with who you are and where you're from.
My name is Juan Iturbe. I'm actually from Venezuela. I've been living here in Panama for the past 15 years. And I come from the technical creative side. And for the past year and a half, I've been sort of focusing more and more on AI. And I've been helping teams implement this sort of last wave of AI and generative AI, specifically in things like web applications and products.
So you originally were not into AI. You were originally into, if I got this correct, you were into visual effects. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I actually got into AI through that because of Stable Diffusion. When the first versions of Stable Diffusion came out, I was basically doing pipeline work and in VFX. So I was using Python on an everyday basis to build tools for artists. I started playing around with the models and I realized that this was something that was really going to change everything because in 3D and VFX, producing a single pixel is very, very, very hard. You know, you need render engines, you need light simulations, you need artists, you need textures, you need and and just the fact that an AI model was able to produce even the quality back then was not great, but even the fact that he was being able to produce those things already like was enough for me to understand that this was coming for real, right? And right around that time, the first chat GPT came out. And
Okay. So then, like, how did your colleagues take it? Like, were you the early adopter there? Where they're like, hey, Juan, what's going on here? Like, this thing looks terrible. Why are you experimenting with this?
because cool part about it was when we started playing around with using gray renders as the basis for an image to image. And then the quality sort of spiked up from there. So we were just sort of prompting these models at the beginning from bare noise. And the results were, as you say, terrible. They're really not usable. As the technology kept sort of pushing along and we started seeing tools like Coffey UI, for example, and we could access other models to do things like background removal on the fly. And then we started experimenting with, okay, what if we take these OpenGL renders? So already not finalized, but already in a stage where we would describe lighting, we would describe basic shapes. And then the diffusion models are really interesting because you can play around with these levels of noise. You can give it more or less noise as a starting point for the diffusion process, right? So what we started to do was, well, what if we just give it a little bit of noise with these images in the background and started playing around with this image to image. And yeah, the results kind of sparked up from there. We actually used it in a couple of production work for background textures, like things that were far away from the camera. They've been like, we've been doing this in AI studio since like 2021 and before, I think. It was just that it's not used for things that are close to the camera yet. And that's what's changing now. Like the quality of the AI generated stuff has improved so much that right now there's actually something going on in the VFX industry where artists are actually like showing their work, and a lot of managers have like an AI generated version, and they just tell the artist like, "Oh, but this one looks very nice. Can you make yours look like this?" So that's providing like a huge shift in the way that these productions are ran and the way that AI is impacting beyond just text generation, which is what the largest scale public have seen, but like behind the scenes for things like 3D Gaussian splatting, even geometric generation. So the model itself, like there's been a spike in the quality of the models generated by AI, and everything that has to do with just raw pixel generation. Like if you compare how expensive rendering one frame from a real production level studio is with a render engine that's simulating like Redshift or Pixar's RenderLab, you can be talking about maybe 6 to 8 hours per image just to render it out. And the fact that AI can do this with the right computation in minutes to maybe, well, I'm not even sure if hours, just if they're extremely fast once they're trained. And that's where things are moving. So right now, people that were in my spot about a year ago, because I kind of branched into this more general application of AI. But a lot of people that are still working in the studio, what they're doing right now is actually producing synthetic data to train
Okay.
the AI model and use that AI model then to do the productions. Let's say we have a big explosion, right? So I would be tasked to generating maybe 1,000 explosions that look really good. Then we can train the model per that production with the style of the explosions that we're going to use in this production. And then in production, we're not actually using the artist to make the actual simulation. We're just using the trained model version. And that's just, it's a complete shift.
All right. Well, before we go on to AIMUG and how you got involved there, I'd like to bring in Andy Caballero and we can get to know each other. And then I think after that, we want to hear about how you guys met. So, Andy, could you tell me more about yourself? Where are you from and what have you been doing that got you into AI?
I'm Andy. I'm the CEO of my startup, Ketzai. It's a 2-year adventure so far. It's proved to be very effective here in Panama. And I'm fascinated by AI. Day one user on ChatGPT once it was released. Being seen a lot of advantages that comes from using it, especially on the education field. That's how the idea got started. Since I homeschool my oldest son, I had to make a switch from the national education system to the US because that's where they give the courses. There's a gap in the curricula that you use there. That's where I see the first sparks of ideas there because I had to fill in some of the contents that they are teaching over there that are not taught here. So I
Okay.
use AI for that.
So, Andy, you're from Panama. And so, like, you got involved in like ChatGPT very early. What were you doing
Right.
before these guys came out with all their models?
Well, I used to be a developer for big companies, and I used to work in the throughout the entire life cycle of a product, from creation to ideation to working with customers, developing it, training them, then supporting them. It's like maybe I worked on that like maybe 12 years or so. So I understood
Okay.
how the process of software creation was. And I am originally from here, but working from external companies from the US mainly. So seeing all of this AI change and the all the advantages that it gives me, it allowed me to start trying to develop my own software idea. And it came because of that I was saying, like, if AI can really help you catch up on education, and that's also something that caught my attention because in my own personal experience, because I was doing later on my job, I was doing more support and development. I stopped learning like development and the new stacks of software and the new TypeScript, React, all of these things. I missed this wave, but I start catching up with AI. It caught me up to date. It used the terms that I was familiar with in the past to get me up to date. So when I see all of this, I see that my kid is also learning a lot with it. I see like, well, we have to approximate this to people. So that's when the idea comes, and that's when we start building Ketzai, which is
Okay.
now a Panamanian startup.
So you were previously doing about like I think you said what 12 years about in application development. You've done a lot for various different companies. And then at some point you have at least one child. Do you have more than one? But okay. And then they're
Yeah.
all in they're all in homeschool. My daughter's also in homeschool. So I'm with you there. And then it hits you. You got AI, you've learned AI, and you're like, hey, I got an application here. So that's how you got into AI, was basically you had your own need and you just like saw this wave of LLMs come about that can solve this gap. And to bring it back, like to AI Mug, is this how both Juan, you, and Andy met, or did you guys know each other beforehand?
So here's the thing. Here in Panama, Panama is like such a small country. It's like 4 million people. So it's great for making a lab or proving an MVP, first of all. But also there's not like a big AI scene, or there didn't used to be a good AI scene. So we met on a like a coffee meetup that one of our friends, like a mutual friend, did. And that's when we started like talking to each other. So that's where we got into it. I was already starting to build Ketzai, and Juan was starting to look for new adventures in the space. So that's like it was like instant click. Like we talk the same language.
Gotcha. And Juan, could you tell me more about like, well, how did this end up becoming AI Mug in Panama? Like, how's Paul involved? So Paul Phelps, he's
Yeah.
here in Austin. He's the one who put me in touch with both of you. And so like, I'm really interested in that backstory. Could you fill us in?
Yeah, well, it actually started because after that initial meeting that Andy tells you about, we used to hook each other up just to talk about AI, right? Just because we both were sort of on the same level, being able to understand each other about what was happening, and that was just like, this is really nice. We should do it again, because that was a one-off meeting, right? So we said, if we both want to do this kind of meetups, there's got to be more people, right? We should be able to put together another coffee where we maybe get 4 or 5 people. That was the initial idea. And then what I've been working on is with launching the framework. And I started just looking online and on LinkedIn, eh, who is near us that even knows about this, right? That maybe has blockchain or something in their title or something, so that we can start sort of connecting with more people and keep this idea of being able to talk about in the same level, right? And then Paul showed up. That's exactly who I found. And Paul, he had recently been here in Panama, and he's been doing these online versions of the AI mug from Austin, and he had the vision of doing them offline, so doing them in person. And that was sort of exactly what we were looking for. We just needed like a little bit of that extra, just a motivation, really. And he came up with all that motivation, right? He was like, yes, I'm in contact with these guys. We can do these meetups. We can record them and sort of bring in Panama into the larger community. We found an organization here that would let us use their offices where we're doing the meetups right now. And they've been amazing. This is the ISD, an organization here, Innovation Smart District. And they've partnered with us to host these meetups right now, where the sole idea is to get a bunch of interesting people in the room, honestly. I think it's more about 60% networking and getting to know other people, and about 40% about learning. And it's been really nice because we have people from every sort of level working in the group or contributing to the group. We have people that are just getting started with AI, presenting about their very small personal projects. And then we have people that are senior leads at big companies that have also presented. So there's something for everybody, because as a senior, what you get is the exposure to these other developers that can turn into business connection or an opportunity. And as a junior, you get the opportunity to expose your idea to these people that have a lot more experience than you. And that's
Yes,
what we're doing.
that's great, because that's very similar to how it is here in AI Mug. We are largely networking, but it's been learning. It's kind of worked out almost as a news service as well. So the AI moves so quickly that, those people who may not be as experienced as the senior developer, at the very least, they can check out new libraries, new frameworks, and they can tell people what they like about it, what they
Exactly.
don't, because we can't try everything out all by ourselves. We need help from a lot of people. And so I'm interested to know, like, how many meetups have you had so far? How many people are there? I'd be interested to know what it looks like on the ground.
Yeah, we were actually surprised because right from the get go, like I think the idea came across really well that we were not trying to just do another talk about AI, general AI, but we were really focused in this developer niche. We expected about 10 people on that first day. We got 23, 24. We pretty much filled the room, which was amazing for a first turn up. And in the second one, we did just the same. So we have about 20 people coming to our groups right now. We have a couple of meetups already done, and we're coming up to the third one next week on March 18th. So yeah, it's been a ride and it's getting better. We're just starting to put more time into the presentation and building maybe signage for ourselves. So it's starting to become something a little bit more official, and it's been a ride.
Awesome. Well, it'll be wonderful to do some more cross collaboration between the two chapters
Oh
and
yeah,
to really be able to point each other, point guests.
that is my vision because here we need that. Like a lot of Latin American countries like Panama bleed their talent because there aren't huge opportunities here to grow within this and to be able to just have the opportunity to get somebody, a good engineer from that chapter to come and help spread the knowledge and help build up this scene, which is exploding the tech scene in Panama right now. I think it's one of the visions that I have for the group. Honestly, like I think that would be a milestone.
I think what you say there is true, like the bleeding talent part, because on personal experience, while I was working on the company I was before I started doing this, I was a huge advocate for AI because it was like a software development company and it's like the latest thing. But when organizations grow enough, it's a little bit hard to do change. And you know how AI is, it's like change like every day or every hour. So being able to bring these people that are feeling like that, it's been amazing because you get to speak to people that are going through the same thing and are seeing the huge potential. And here they have free reins. I was telling Juan, like, right now with my company, we don't have still the structure, but we can like choose any stack, any software, any direction because we are building the policies ourselves and the procedures. So it's amazing to have a group of people like this.
You started Ketzai, and I think a lot of it isn't really about difficulty or know-how. A lot of it is down to bravery and also just getting started and learning how to experiment with ideas so that they start small before you invest heavily in that idea. Maybe you can go into exactly how you started Ketzai and how it evolved from the initial idea to where it is now.
Well, it all started with a global competition that Google did. It was called the Gemini API Developer Competition. It was like this worldwide competition where the prize would be an electric DeLorean. So if you do like the best AI thing, that was back on the Gemini 1.5 Pro days, maybe 2 years ago, a little bit more. And I gathered a group of friends and I said, like, let's just start building for this. Let's do a tutor because we were homeschooling and AI was great at teaching. Let's do a tutor that teaches history, takes you to the place where history happened. And that's where we got the bird, the Ketzai bird that we have for a logo. I have it right here. That's where
Wow.
we got the mascot from. Because if it's going to be like elementary school teaching, these kind of things help, right? So we start building it. And we submitted the proposal, but from my research, I noticed that we were the only ones. We even built like this demo video because you had to submit a video where you would show off your tool, but we made it like full passion project. We got some drones, we got some historical shots from ruins here in Panama. We did this like crazy thing, but also the tool that accompanied it was like, but the sad part of all of this is that Google didn't even saw the submission. I check on the repo, I check on the drive where I send the code base, and they never checked because there were so many submissions. we're a little bit let down by that, but through the process realized like, hey, this is not just a demo. It's not like a hackathon Sunday project. This is like a thing that we have to build. Because there was also a lot of interest here locally. They were saying like, wow, this is really good. We like, I would pay for this. That's what people were saying. So then we decided like, let's make this official. Instead of just making it like a demo, let's make it like a company. And then we start working on it. So we start building for this tutor vision that we had. And that's when my co-founder, who is the COO, Jose, and I started working together. But we needed someone else on the team that could help us bring that technology and that development here to life. So that's where I also recruited and invited to the team Helen, who's working with the product alongside with me. So I have more of like the AI vision and where should we take things, and she is also like really good at UI designing and development. So it's like a good complement. And then Jose handles all the business and strategy part of these things. So now that we have the three of us working together, we're still doing our jobs. We're doing like our 9 to 5. And we used to meet before our shifts start at work. We would meet like 2 hours every day. We would go to a McDonald's and we would exchange ideas, draw on paper, start doing it. But through the process of building this tutor, we realized that for a tutor to give effective classes, it needs to have a good planning. And that's where we pivoted the idea because we realized there's a huge pain here that's been unattended. And that is that in order to give a good class, teachers spend their whole weekend planning. And it's like such a drag for them because every year they keep asking more and more things that they have to deliver on. And it's exhausting. Which teacher, oh, I believe this is worldwide, what teacher would be happy to give a class when he spent a entire weekend planning? So that's the pain of what we saw, but especially Helen there because her mother is an English teacher here in Panama. So she lived that pain. She lived not being with her mom during the weekends and these kind of things. So she brought the idea to us and we discussed it and we realized, yes, planning is important. And now in development, if you develop, you know that now planning is everything. If you don't plan, the software comes out all spaghetti code that's unmaintainable, right? So if you have a solid plan, you can have a solid code that you can maintain. So it's the same for classes, right? So then
I mean,
we pivoted the idea.
yeah, so like I was going to ask you about planning. So I used to think that the elementary schools would have really just like a curriculum all laid out. You know, on this day you do X, on this other day you do Y, and then on these days you're going to test. Maybe it's not exactly written down to the exact calendar day, but you know, there's a script if you're going to be teaching one class to like second graders about mathematics, another script for teaching fourth graders about I don't know what they let's say science. I don't know what they're learning in fourth grade, but you know, I thought, how's that actually work out? Like, what are they? What's this planning that's going on? I would like to know more about that.
There's teachers that been using the same planning for the last 10, 15 years and they never change it. That's a huge problem right there because the kids that learned 15 years ago are not the same as the ones that we have today. So planning should be personalized to the student that's going to receive the class. Right now, for example, that's why we see there's a lot of special needs that students have, a lot of TDAH and all of these ways of learning that need attention. There's also different ways of different realities that students here face. For example, here in Panama, it's really easy to have rural and urban communities, but the way the classes are imparted are totally different. So you have one main plan that could serve as a script, but you need to personalize it for each classroom and even more so for each student because everyone learns different. So that's where we find the possibility because we can make that script that you're talking about or we can make it really personal for that particular student. That's where we saw the potential because some teachers were already using AI and I myself was using it as well, but we need to approximate a tool that would give planning and classes that are speaking the reality of that teacher that's going to impart it. And they have to go over there and they have sometimes no electricity, no internet, but they have to make it work over there for that particular region. If those teachers go to ChatGPT and ask for planning, and this is something that they have told us themselves, it's gonna ask like, you want to learn history? Okay, so the suggestion is go to this museum and such and such. But right in that remote region, there's no museum or way to get that. So We saw all of these things and we realized that if we're going to leverage AI for the tool, it needs to speak to that teacher's reality. So that's the personalization part that we got right when we shipped our first MVP, which was last year. It was proven to be a success. We worked, I tell you, McDonald's 2 hours every day until we shipped something on right before, like a month before classes started. And suddenly, out of nowhere, we receive it's like a Yapi payment, we call it here in Panama. I believe that would be like a Venmo over there. It's like a cash payment that you receive like electronically, and we
Okay.
received it out of nowhere. And for us, that was one of like the top days of our journey, because it was the first time that someone paid for a product. It's like someone's willing to pay for this. It means that it can work. And throughout the year, we start building the tool with them. We start seeing a lot of things in the educational system that take a lot of job that we start taking off of them. Because when they plan, they have to not only do it for themselves, but they also have to deliver to their coordinators, and they need to keep track of what students are learning or whatnot. So our tool proved to be instrumental for last year, because I tell you other thing that happened.
Awesome.
Last year, there was a disruption of classes. So there was like a huge nationwide protest where a huge amount of teachers start protesting and stop giving classes. The only ones affected there were the students, of course, because they're gonna have some gaps that they already are carrying from the pandemic days. And it was so hard for the students that are coming, because they are not in all the plans that teachers were doing. They lost them because they had a schedule of when they were to give it, and they lost it. So during that gap time, we decided like, hey, now we have planning. Let's make something that can help the students that are missing out on the classes. So during the protest, which was like about 2 months, we shipped also a tutor that used the same planning for those students that are missing classes. And that's where we ship our second product, which stayed on the MVP stage. It's called Ketzai Learn, which is a tutor that we originally submitted on the developer competition, but now made with a lot of planning and care and in a maintainable way, not a hackathon style.
So so if I got this straight, you entered into this Google competition, and that's how the plan at McDonald's started. That's how you recruited your team, and you started to develop this MVP. And you've developed two MVPs. You've developed a planner, if I'm correct, right? And then you have a tutor, and both of them have been successful. I would like to know a little bit more about the features, because like I said previously, my daughter's also homeschooled, so I have sort of similar interests. And maybe by the end of this call, I might actually offer to make a purchase. So I'd like to know, could you tell me more about exactly how the teacher uses the tutor, and then how the student, well, maybe I got that wrong, how the teacher uses the planner, and then how the student uses the tutor?
So for the teacher, the planning process is quite simple. We use the national curricula, the official one, and we fit it to the model, but in a very efficient kind of way. Because you can go both routes with ChatGPT or other subscription tools that you have. You can send the curriculum for it to plan you the year or the week of classes or the day of classes. But because the curriculum itself is so big, the AI is going to summarize or omit some of the contents that are actually in there that need to be given, because of the sheer amount of content that there is to give on each program. So we approximated that to the AI, so it only plans based on what's next. So teachers come here on a weekend and they plan their entire week or the next 2 weeks. They have an action plan of what they're going to do, time based. Like the first 50 minutes, I'm going to introduce the class with this thing that's going to catch students' attention. Then I'm going to do the learning activity. I'm going to show this video. And then when I close, we're going to do this. And then we give them, not only we store it on the cloud if they want to access it, but they can also download it, because we have many teachers here that go on a huge journey where there's no internet. So they have a printed plan of what they're going to do. And that's how the entire planning process we're taking care of. That's where we are so far. And for the tutoring, we can use this same curriculum that you used to learn, and you can have a personalized class for the teacher. That one is on an earlier stage, but what it does is just a conversation back and forth, but where the teacher guides you. So regularly when you have a conversation with ChatGPT, for example, or these tools, when a student is learning, the teacher needs to guide. So in this case, the tutor, the AI tutor, is guiding the conversation and is trying to perceive the things that you're learning or the gaps. It has infinite patience because AI is just like that. And
Yes.
it talks to your language, right? So if you're like preschool or like elementary school, the language it uses is more adapted to that, but it asks more from you if you are like on a higher level. So that's basically how it works. The only thing is that so far we have proved the MVP and narrowed it down here to the Panama region. We are bringing it outside to other curriculums, but right now it's limited to this curriculum only as of today.
So, like, Juan, what do you think of this? I have a number of questions. So, like, Juan, have you ever, like, when you were studying, used things like flashcards for like spaced repetition?
Yeah.
Like, because I think it would be really cool to go and not only have a tutor, have maybe if you have AI video to go back to like Juan's, motivation with like visual effects, creating video lessons that perhaps maybe aren't streaming so that people who have no internet can use it, that it actually outputs it to a fixed storage. You could also come up with flashcards that use spaced repetition to really drill it into a student's head. And then what else? Like, I'm sure there are other ideas that you can come up with.
Yeah, there's a lot of work around accessibility actually, like he was talking, right? So the just the fact that not needing internet and you can still get all of this knowledge inside the LLM, I think that's one of the strong points, because yes, there's a lot of moments where Ketzai is used that there is no internet. So I think being able to come up with these solutions that can run in smaller models, like these flashcards that, activity suggestions that are tailored to the space where the school actually is, and that just making the job easier for teachers. I think it's where most of the hard work of the platform goes into, because like Andy was saying, they actually have so much to do already, and like the resources are spread so thin that just helping them out with planning, with just a simple reduction in the time that I take to plan these things, it creates a larger impact in how that teacher can actually teach his class later, because it is a reality that then just by the sheer amount of work that it takes to produce all this official documentation, it takes, motivation out of the teachers themselves. So I think building around that, where AI is not just a bolted on experience type of thing, but the actual core of the product kind of uses AI for accessibility reasons to be able to provide, these single use tools or that are aimed at making your life easier as a teacher. And that's an awesome feeling when you have real users telling you, yes, I need this. And it's basically not a problem of can I find people to use my product, but how fast can I actually meet their demands, right?
And I
Yes,
think,
it's a good pro to have.
Andy, so could you tell us more about like the users? Because I know you're very close to your user, the teacher in Panama. There are 20,000, I think, that you told me offline that have registered for Ketzai. And I think at any particular given week, you have 8,000 active users. So what features are they looking forward to? What can we look forward to from Ketzai?
On December, when classes ended, we had some amount of time where we could develop our own things. And this is something that we have internally working already. And it's something that we're proud of. And I want to tell it to you because we will release it later through the year. I'll give you a bit of context. Here in Panama, all teachers will have the exact same laptop. Probably this year, probably next year. The government will get a laptop for every teacher here. And these laptops have a specific requirement. These laptops have an NPU. said they must have an NPU. It's a neural processing unit that allows you to run local models on the computer under low usage. Because we in Panama, in Latin America, we're very efficient with our things, and Juan can back me up on that. We are very efficient with our tokens. So when we build the tool, we are not just giving you the most expensive model and we're just flooding you with instructions and we are just letting it run. We're very efficient with what we ask, how we ask, and how we give context to it. Because through our year, our development was to make an efficient model that can help you plan. As the technology progressed and local models became more and more smarter, we were able to take the plug out of Ketzai from the cloud and we're able to run on at approximately 90 to 92% of efficiency. That means the quality of the outputs compared to one of the frontier models, but in NPU level. That means a local model. Why? Because our teachers, most of them sometimes don't have internet or the internet is not as good. And in Latin America, this is the reality. There's many teachers that go to these really far places that could do a lot of advantage of having these things. So once all the teachers here in Panama have that computer with that NPU, they will all be able to run Ketzai without the need of internet. And for me, that's something that's very exciting because it's the timing is so good because AI is developing, models are getting smarter, and they are all going to have the same device. And that's one of the things that we're working with. Another big thing that happened is that this year they redesigned the whole curriculum because it was like 15 years old. So they made it new. And we worked hard on bringing it all to the platform. We are going to give you resources, printables, and interactive activities because AI can do it. AI can generate printables on the go, but based on the planning I did, now I don't have to be hunting on the internet for printables that other did. I can tailor it to my specific student needs. And if I have to make an activity that's tailored for 10 students, but 2 of them have special needs, I can make the same activity, but tailored to those 2. So that's something that we're working on also that we will be shipping to our customers. But also they'll be able to do that offline. Sometimes having like the best top of the line models, they're good and we have to do that. But if we're efficient with this, it can be good on the long run. So we're estimated that, for example, by the end of the year, local models can be more agentic. So they'll be able to take in even more tasks like they are doing right now. So if you try to see where things are going. So we're very excited to bring that to local users, that they can have a software that works even if there's no internet, and we can have like really intelligence in their hands, even if they're very remote.
Awesome. So no longer are you going to have to use Ketzai when you have internet and print out your lesson plans. You'll be able to change it on the fly, right where you are, no internet required. Great.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about Ketzai, your website, your socials, so that they can keep up to date?
So we have our website, ketzai.com. That's with a K and a Z. And over there, you'll find also all of our socials. We're doing live webinars every Friday because this is the other thing. This is another thing that we're very proud of in the team is that we have become very close to our users because we don't have to spend as much time on the computer coding. We are just talking more with our teachers and seeing where they are lacking, what they need, what's hard for them. So every Friday at 7 p.m. in our YouTube channel, we do a webinar where they join in, they bring questions, they ask for features, and we work with them. So we'll have that available, and also our website and all of our socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, X.
Awesome. And Juan, where can people find out more about AIMUG Panama and what great work you're doing?
Obviously, we run everything through GitHub right now. So you can just find us on GitHub. It's just at github.pty.aimug.com.
Awesome. And I'll put down your personal socials in the description below. It was great having both of you here. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Jim, for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.